Okay. All right. Well, Holly, thank you for having me today. My name's Leanne Knight. I'm with an organization called Safehouse of Shelby County, and specifically my program is Safe Shelby Sexual Assault Services. So we're located in Pelham, right off the Tank Farm exit. You get off there and you hit 31 and go north, and we're about a half mile down the road on the right below Susan Shine Chevrolet. So we are a nonprofit organization. We serve Shelby, Chilton, Clair, and Coosa counties. And we can also serve victims from anywhere, especially if they come to us through a law enforcement officer's request. But we have a lot of victims who are just traveling down 65 and they Google their nearest sexual assault clinic and they find us. So we always welcome them there. We serve men, women, and adolescents 14 and older. So if we have an adolescent who has experienced a sexual assault and they are 14 or younger, or sometimes 15 or younger, we individualize those situations based on their age. But definitely if they're younger than 14, we always refer them to Children's Hospital in Birmingham and to their local Children's Advocacy Center. And we work mostly with Butterfly Bridge out of Chilton County and Owens House out of Shelby County. We see victims who can qualify for a sexual assault exam are those who the assault happened within 3 days or 72 hours. And sometimes we can do a medical exam beyond that 72 hours. But for us to gather evidence, it has to be within those timeframes. That's what the Alabama law says. And we also can provide services to any survivor who needs assistance. I do want to brag for a moment. You'll get 2 brags in here, or 3. And this is one. This is our clinical coordinator. She was named Shelby County's Healthcare Professional of the Year for 2020. So we're very proud of April Brasher and the amount of work and classes and studying and test taking that's gone into bringing her expertise to our clinic. We have on staff right now, well, we have a larger staff of SANE nurses, but these are our 3 main SANE nurses. SANE stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner. And so that phrase SANE can mean a place, such as where you get a sexual assault exam. It can be a person who does that exam for you. And so you'll hear that term a lot. So I just wanted you to understand that SANE means Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner or exam. It doesn't have to do with mental health. So what these nurses do, they're all specially trained forensic nurses. They have gone through, of course, they're RN nurses, but they have gone through extensive training on gathering forensic evidence and working with sexual assault victims. So they do physical exams, they conduct forensic interviews. And what that means is that they are able to gather information in a non-biased way that can be used in court. They gather evidence, and we'll talk more about that. They coordinate with law enforcement on the front end. And when I say that, I mean, telling law enforcement what we can and can't do for them, getting victims into our clinics or to local ERs where our SANE nurses can see them, following up with the chain of custody, the sharing of evidence according to the law. And also they can provide trial testimony for specific cases they've seen. But April also can provide expert trial testimony in unrelated cases because of the degrees that she has. So a sexual assault exam consists of a few things that are different than a normal physical exam. They do get the physical exam when they come in, which is a head-to-toe assessment to make sure that the I'm gonna change and start saying either patient or victim or survivor. All of those terms are interchangeable. But so we do assess the patient head to toe, and sometimes we find other things that we need to address. We have found, upon first look, diabetic sores or ingrown toenails or, things of that nature that we recognize that we have to treat that first, because those are things that are critical to this patient's health. So it's not just an exam for physical evidence of a sexual assault. It's exam for this person's complete health. And we can help them get additional medical treatment for those things as well. We take their physical statements, we photograph their injuries, we collect DNA through their blood, their urine, hair samples off of their clothing, their fingernail scrapings. And we don't do that for every patient. It depends on the specific nature of the attack, whether we do certain things. For example, unless we have reason to believe that the attack had happened because the person was drugged, then we don't need to collect a blood sample. That would just be unnecessary. So we base what we do in our exam room on the needs of each individual patient. We can provide them with preventative medications against sexually transmitted infections, particularly chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis, I believe. I'd have to ask my nurses. But we provide that type of pregnancy infection prevention, and we also can do pregnancy testing and prevention medications. Now, what we give them is something called Plan B. It will prevent a new pregnancy from occurring, but it will not affect an existing pregnancy. But we do like to give them a pregnancy test so that we can know if they were already pregnant. And we have, out of about 200 that we've seen in our clinic, we did have one who tested pregnant, and she was not surprised because she and her husband had been trying for a baby. So we don't want to give the pregnancy prevention medication if someone's already pregnant, although it is given, but we do that under the direction of our medical director, Dr. Kara Conti. So Dr. Conti will administer that medication to keep another pregnancy from happening, because that can happen. And so we want to be sure that we do everything that is going to protect the life and health of this patient that we have. We also give referrals for additional medical treatment. Some of these may be, examples might be they need a CAT scan or an MRI because they were hit in the head, or they have been strangled. And so we want to make sure that they go and that they see an MD to make sure that there is no deeper bruising down in their throat than we know about. We can, with our cameras, we can see down in the throat and we can look for certain things, but strangulation is very dangerous. So we make medical referrals all the time. Sometimes they're to podiatrists for ingrown toenails, or for, I say diabetic sores because I helped a client with that just last week. But so we will refer out for things totally unrelated to the sexual assault. And let me just go ahead and say that when we do one of those medical referrals, we just make that referral from Safehouse. The doctors and the nurses that are seeing our patients for other things don't have to know that they came through a sexual assault exam process. And we want to protect their privacy in that way. So if we're doing, another thing that we do is that we see clients who are, who either reach out to us or they're referred to us from law enforcement who have been victims of domestic violence. And a lot of times that comes with strangulation as well. So we do the same things with domestic violence patients as we do for rape victims. We can assess them. We can, document their injuries. So we will document their injuries, and then they come back and we document the healing of those injuries, and all of that is evidence admissible in court. And you can see here some images of that we have taken of victims. And of course, if you look at, and it bothers me to look at it, Holly knows I can't look at things like this too much, but the eye at the bottom, this person's eye obviously has had some trauma to it. So if I'm looking at a friend and I see her eye looks like that, I may say, hey, Holly, you know, what happened to your eye? Let's talk about that. But generally, that is a very, very bad example. Not a bad example. That's an example of a very bad injury related to strangulation. But 9 times out of 10, these are going to leave injuries that we don't see as a mother or a grandmother or a friend. We're not going to see them, because where we find the evidence is we're pulling the eyelids down and up. We're photographing the bruising that's down in there that we don't see. We're finding bruising under the tongue, in the back of the mouth, in the back of the throat. We can take evidence photographs of all that. And those are places that even victims don't know it's there. And so we can take these photographs and we can show them on a big screen. They see each photo that we take as we're doing it, and they're shocked that because they don't realize that they have all of this evidence on their body that their partner has been abusing them. They think that if they go and they tell someone, he hit me or he's strangling me, no one's going to believe them because they themselves don't see that evidence, but we can find that evidence. And you'll see right there the bruising behind that young lady's ear. And so in a bad strangulation, you will get bruising behind the ear. Or a lot of times an abusive person, rather than hit someone in the face, will strike them on the side of the head, because it doesn't leave those visible bruises until we start pulling the hair back and the ears forward that we can find that. So I'm sorry, I get a little long-winded, but we can talk about this for a long time. One of the very important things that we do, though, for every patient who's been a victim of strangulation is that we educate them on the dangers of having been strangled, because most people don't know. I didn't know until I became part of the strangulation exam process, is that a patient can die 2 or 3 weeks later after being strangled. They think that they're better, you know, they're breathing now, their throat's a little sore, but what they don't understand is that internally there's damage that can continue to get worse if it's not monitored by a doctor. And so we are taking the evidence collection, we're educating them on what could happen, not to scare them, but they need to be aware what could happen. Watch for these signs. If you start to feel this way, call us. If you start to feel that way, go to the ER immediately, because, you know, sometimes people die and they'll just call it natural causes, and maybe they were strangled 2 or 3 weeks earlier and that person never told. I'll just talk about this for just a second. We have interpreters for anyone who doesn't speak English or who speaks English, but this is an intensive process. And so we want them to absolutely understand everything that we say, and we absolutely want to understand everything they say. So we have in-person interpreters for those people who speak Spanish, but we also have what we call our language line. And you can see here that an interpreter here on an iPad. And no, it's not the best situation, but these interpreters are amazing. They are fantastic. And so we just roll this cart in right here, and within the touch of a button, we can have a live person on the other end talking with our patient. And it's really amazing. And they are all certified language interpreters. They can give us 36 different languages, including American Sign Language. And I always have to give credit to the Alabama Coalition Against Rape, because they provide this equipment to all rape centers in Alabama, and we appreciate them very much. So part of what I do is acting as a victim's advocate. So I have a team of sexual assault advocates, and yes, you will notice they are all women, but I do have a male advocate. He's just not active right now, but it doesn't have to be women. But sexual assault advocates act in a very motherly way during a SANE exam. And so it just sort of works that all of our advocates are, just by chance, but a little bit older, a lot more experienced. They have seen things in their life that they have been through trying situations, because, you know, let's be real, by the time you get to our age, we've all been through something, and we've learned patience, we've learned, you know, how to treat people with dignity. And so this is my team right here that I currently have, and 2 just rolled off, but 4 of these and 2 others have been with us for almost 5 years. So that speaks to their dedication that they have for us. Things that sexual assault advocates do: they're with the client from the time that they enter the clinic until they leave. They are there to help monitor the process, to be emotionally supportive to victims, because we, you know, our nurses and law enforcement can't say, I believe you or I don't believe you. They have to remain totally neutral, because they're trying to get to the truth. But as an advocate, we can say, I believe you, I understand what's happening. And we are there sort of in a motherly way. That's the best way to put it. They do things such as safety planning. They coordinate services before, during, and after a sexual assault case. They can connect our clients with case management. That may be getting them into permanent housing, a better situation. That may be helping them to find employment. So once they leave us, we want to help them make their life better. So by working with our case managers and counselors, we can help them beyond their sexual assault. These women are a wealth of information and services. So if they know of a need that M4A can help meet, then they can help coordinate that. These are essential to victim services for sure. And I know I haven't said, but I want to say it now, and I'll say it again, that there is never a charge for anything that Safe Shelby or Safehouse does for a victim. So we can do a lot of things for our victims. Here's another brag. This is one of our victim advocates. Her name is Tracy, and she was named the National Crime Victim Rights Week Central Alabama Vocal Voice for Victims Award winner a couple of years ago. And she is just amazing. She brought 25 years experience in the military as a drill sergeant. She has done, I believe it was 8 tours of duty in the Middle East. But part of what she did beyond that is when she was stateside, she would be working as a victim's advocate with sexual assault victims. And so she and I connected very early when she got out of the service, and she has earned her social work degree, and she is just a fabulous asset for our program. One thing that my advocates do, and Tracy and I do most of this, but we can go with victims to their medical appointments. We go with them to law enforcement interviews. We can connect them with our people at the courthouse to get them protection orders, which is a restraining order between intimate partners. So it's a type of restraining order. We can go to court with them, and something that I often do is help them with their crime victims compensation. The state of Alabama has funds for victims who have lost things monetarily because of a crime. For example, I may help a victim who, as a result of their rape, cannot go to work for 2 or 3 days, and they've lost days off of work. But their bills don't stop. And so, it may take a while, but I can help her gather proof that she lost her time. I can get our statements together and submit that, and then the state can pay her for those lost days of work. It is a process, but most victims don't even know that that's available. So that's something we can do. I want to show you just some photographs right quick of our clinic. We have the waiting room. So if you have someone that needs services and you come with them to the clinic, this is where you would wait here on the left. We've since added a big, beautiful fish aquarium there instead of that bookcase, so that everybody just gets mesmerized by the fish. And I think it's very relaxing when you're experiencing an otherwise very stressful event. This room on the right is where we will take the patient or the victim in, and it will be just the victim, the nurse, and me, and we'll sit there and we'll let them tell us about what happened. We'll get their medical history and we'll go from there. This is our pictures of the exam room and the shower. The shower looks small, but it's really a very large room. So every victim that comes to us has the opportunity to take a shower before they leave, and we can give them new clothing. The community is so generous with us to give us clothing, smell good, body washes and lotions and perfumes, and we have it in an area where they can select the things that they want and that will help them feel well. There's also an area there with hair dryers and new brushes and new combs, and some victims will go in and stay in that shower, room 10 minutes, and we've had them come out after an hour, because we just feel like that warm shower, that safe space, is a first step to healing. One thing that our staff and I do is we provide a lot of trainings for the community, especially with the law enforcement and healthcare communities. And then we also do community education, as noted here at the bottom. And that's the kind of thing I'm doing right now, where we talk to whoever will listen to us about the services that we have and what we can do to help you. Here are just some photos of us doing some trainings there. And you see at the top left was Lina was speaking, highlighted speaker at an M4A event. So we're always honored to partner with M4A whenever we can. And you see here at the bottom, that's police officers. Police officers are the hardest audience. So I love them, but woo, they're hard to get. And we also do a lot of community outreach, where we will tone everything we do down and make it age appropriate. So we will go and speak to Girl Scout troops and Boy Scout troops, and just the basics of trusting relationships and kind of red flags to look for, and how to talk to someone if you feel like you need to share something that's happened to you. But everything that, when we talk to children and young adults, our main thing is to help them understand that if something has happened or is happening to them, it is not their fault, and that it is okay to reach out for help. I go and I will speak to assisted living facilities, church groups, things of that nature. We go into daycares and do their health assessments, because you may know that daycares are all required by the state as part of their licensing to do some health screenings for their children and their little students, and we'll weigh them and take their blood pressure, and it's a non-threatening way. It's not scary like when they go to the doctor. So it's always a fun day for us. We do a lot of outreach events in the community. Like I said, we cover Chilton, Clair, Coosa, and Shelby counties. So we are all over the place at events and meetings. We don't really love it, but we are happy to do television and radio guest spots. So that gets our word out there. So we'll try that too. And I will briefly and quickly sort of zoom through what our organization as a whole does for the community. So if you'll remember, I'm with an organization, my parent organization is Safehouse of Shelby County. And we opened in 1989. We serve domestic and sexual violence victims. The only difference is that the way that the state has broken counties up into territories is that, unfortunately, we don't serve Chilton County for domestic violence abuse. We just serve Chilton County for sexual violence and abuse. So if you call us and you're from Chilton and it's a domestic violence call, then we do refer you back to your service provider. Or if you're in another county, Walker, any other county, if we are happy to take your call and get you connected with resources in your area. And then Shelby County 2019, year before last now, was chosen as Shelby County's Nonprofit of the Year. So we were extremely proud of that. Our residential shelter and community services, we have a 56-bed shelter. We do individual and group counseling. We teach life skills. We can help them with their legal questions and getting them connected with attorneys that can help them at a reduced or zero price. We partner with an organization called Shelby Safe Pet Services. And this is a fantastic organization. I want to give them a plug for a minute. They're part of the Humane Society of Shelby County, and they will help us with fostering victims' pets while victims come to shelter. It's an amazing service. So if, there are organizations like this all over the state. So, you know, I think that someday when I'm out of this particular work that I'm doing, as much as I love dogs and cats, I think I would love to be a foster home for an animal while someone's in a domestic violence shelter. The foster families and the shelter residents never meet. It's done through a third party, through Shelby Safe Pet, but it's an amazing, amazing program. So I've already talked about how we can assist with health care needs. We have children's services at our shelter. So our family and child advocates there, we have one, and they're certified teachers. So she is able to do groups with them, tutoring, after school tutoring, enrichment. They understand the IEP process. If you've ever had a child in public school who has an IEP, you know that that is overwhelming. And our family and child advocate understands this process because they're certified teachers. They know how that works. They're happy to go with our residents for IEP meetings or for teacher conferences. So I really love that. They take them on field trips. They provide child care in situations. We're not a daycare. We have partnering daycares that will provide daycare while our residents are in shelter. But we can provide that short-term child care, like if our resident needs to go for a doctor's appointment or to run, buy groceries, or to, go for a job interview or something like that. So that's a fantastic program. And then we also have case management and referrals. So like I mentioned before, we can help residents with housing needs. We work with DHR through the SEL program for rent deposits, utility assistance, budgeting. So whatever it takes to get them on their feet and into a situation where they can be self-sufficient, that's what we want to do. So here's some photos from inside our residential shelter. Like I said, no, I didn't, in Alabama, and we are honored when we get tours from people such as the Attorney General, from our congressmen, from our senators, because, we want to show the best, and they choose us, and so we appreciate that. We have, this is our common area, which is like the living room area. So you see the TV, you see the kids corner, which is really like a classroom. What you can't see on the other side is another glassed wall that's a teen room. So there are couches and video games and DVD players and things in there. And that room's only for teens, but it has a full glass wall so that they can have privacy, but they can still be monitored at the same time. And you see here is just, these are residential rooms on the hall. Here is a pavilion, and it has since been updated even better than that by a group from Church of the Highlands. And you see our playground, very nice. We have a gigantic kitchen where the residents tell us what they would like to eat. They prepare the menus. We buy all the groceries, and the residents do all of their cooking. We don't cook for them, and we don't clean up for them. It's just like being at home, but we do buy all the groceries. And so they will partner together, and some like to do the cooking and some like to do the cleaning. And so it really does work. We have laundry facilities for the residents. There's part of the backyard you can see that spans the length of the building where they can have shaded area to play, toys everywhere. Here's part of the classroom. I can see they don't have all the tables and chairs there. They must have been doing a big activity that day where they had them all put up. We have internet access for all of our residents. And then we have rooms where we can house 56 clients at the same time. So this past year, well, 2019, early 2020, each of our rooms was adopted by a different group. And you can see this room was adopted by BB&T Bank. So they were all repainted, all new furnishings, all new bedding. And so they're really nice. And this is the bathroom that goes with that room. You know, a lot of times when people talk about going to a shelter, they're thinking of a gymnasium with mats on the floor or little cots and a blanket. And that's not what this is. Our shelter is designed to be a short-term home away from home. We do, our staff's really fun and amazing, and they do holiday celebrations for residents. They will help throw birthday parties for the children. At our shelter, we will have women and their children to stay, and those can be, of course, male children up to 19. And if we do have male residents, but we generally have a different location where male victims would stay, because the reason is, although all the rooms have locks on the doors and everything, if a lady is a victim of abuse by a male, we just don't want to have any extra fear. So we house them in an equally nice, different location. So if our volunteer opportunity or our volunteer program right now is somewhat still shut down from COVID. We're doing a few things, but some of the things that our volunteers do are being sexual assault advocates. And those advocates, they go through a 20-hour classroom training and then on-the-job training. So that one's a big commitment. And you see that our staff is full right now. But if you're ever interested in being a sexual assault advocate, I can put you on a list and let you know when there's an opening. We have volunteers who answer our crisis line. Our crisis line is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a whole team of child care volunteers, because a lot of times our victims who are no longer in shelter, they're living back in the community, but they're still getting counseling. They don't have child care. So we will have volunteers who will come and stay with their children while they go to their counseling appointment. Or to court, or anything related to their victimization, we can do some child care for. We have volunteers that help at the shelter in different ways, just different types of needs. We have big groups that come in from time to time. Like I said, Church of the Highlands, Shelby Baptist Association has done some large projects for us. Blue Cross and Blue Shield has done some really good things. BB&T Bank. There are just so many great things that one person might not be able to do, and we as a staff may not be able to do. But when you have the collective resources of a large church or a large business, and they allow their employees to come during their time to work here for a day or two, it's really amazing. We have office support at our administrative offices, where we have like volunteer receptionists, volunteers who do special projects, things like that for us. We, as you saw, we do outreach events. So sometimes volunteers go out and do those events with us or for us. And those that have done it a few times, they're like, hey, I got this. I don't need anybody to go with me. So we love that. We have volunteers who can provide interpretation. They're not certified to do medical or legal interpretation, but they are a great asset when we have someone coming into our shelter and we don't have a staff member available who is bilingual. We can call on one of these volunteers to help them figure out their paperwork and to interpret as they're getting the tour and learning about what, you know, what's what while they're in shelter. So that's always fantastic. And of course, our board of directors are all volunteer positions as well. And so here's just some pictures of volunteers that have done some things for us. There's BB&T when they were painting their room. We had an event there where we had clowns, and we had a cook-off, and you see this man, he's so funny on his bicycle. That's in Clay County. Miss Benita and I were out at an event one day, and he does some things for us, and he's like, I'm a Safehouse volunteer. And so we were like, get in here, man. We got to have your picture. We've had another group. I don't remember. They were from a school, I believe. They were, you know, just getting the room all straightened up there, the supply room. We've had them come. That's Church of the Highlands. While they were painting, there were people that were doing activities with the children, like pony rides. So we appreciate everything the community does for us. If you have, I know I've talked a lot, but there's just a lot to say. So if you have any questions, you can reach me. My name is Leanne Knight. There's my email address. It's leannek@safehouse.org. And our 24-hour hotline is 205-669-7233. And if you want to follow us, we're active on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So keep up with us, and we appreciate the time that you've given us today.